Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Alberto Contador and Chris Froome are two living legends of the sport and arguably the best stage racers of their generation. And they made something of a rivalry in the past few years. Today we'll take a look back at one of their most epic encounters at the Vuelta Andalucia in 2015 on stage 3. So in the GC for the race, before the stage, Alberto Contador was in the lead with 8 seconds down to Chris Froome in third. Stage 3 was 160 kilometers from Montreal and finished with the 16-kilometer climb Alto Jalanas. As we join the race with 7.7 kilometers to go, Saxo Tinkoff, or Tinkoff Saxo, are putting in a high pace at the front as we get into one of the tough sections of the climb. The next camera shot is at the front of the race with only 5 riders visible, and the rider leading Alberto Contador up the climb is Ivan Basso, the 2-time Giro d'Italia champion, and what a domestique to have at this point. We can see that the 5 riders also include Nairo Quintana, Nicolas Ade of Cofidis, and Romain Bardet, battling up one of the steepest part of the climb, with even this bit going up to 18%. Ivan Basso is really putting in some watts here, and he and Contador managed to gap the 3 other riders, but you're probably thinking, where on earth is Chris Froome? In the meantime, we see the Basso-Contador gap has grown significantly down to the 3 others. With 7.3 kilometers to go, Ivan Basso and then Alberto Contador look down the mountain as they come around the hairpin, and with one glimpse, Contador thinks to himself that this is the time to attack, and that's what he does. Moments later, we can see the damage that his surge has actually caused, as he's just so far ahead of everyone. Uncharacteristically, Contador is attacking in the saddle and not his usual out of the saddle style. The percentage at this point of the climb is between 13 and 17%. We can see that the chasing group with Nicolas Ede, Bardet and Quintana led by the Team Sky rider Pete Kenyak, but there is still no signs of Froome on the TV camera. Moments later we see Kenyak at the front and we get our first sight of Chris Froome with 6.5 kilometers left, and Contador has built up a lead of 19 seconds down to this group. We get a quick shot of Froome at the back of the chasing group, and it looks like he's in trouble as he's so far down the group, but Froome is known for having this strange pacing style to avoid going into the red. The helicopter shot shows Chris Froome bridging over to the front 3 of the chasing group that Pete Kenyak has caused, and we also see a motorbike coming around Chris Froome, and that motorcyclist is actually giving a bit of draft to Chris Froome as he swings across just to get that bit of help from the motorcyclist, and then he bridges across to the group. With less than 6 kilometers remaining, Alberto Contador has increased his lead to 30 seconds and he has now adopted his characteristic dancing climbing style out of the saddle. The chasing group is being ever reduced by Pete Kenyak as Nairo Quintana is starting to crack on the steep incline. Alberto Contador looks really good and keeps switching from out of the saddle to into the saddle climbing to avoid himself tiring out, and this also enables him to use different parts of his muscle groups to avoid fatigue. With 4.2 kilometers left, the gap is too large for Froome's liking at 40 seconds, so he gets to the front and puts in a massive surge that quickly distances a fatigued Pete Kenyak, and Bardet looks also moments later to have had enough of this high pace as he quickly pulls off. And now it's just Froome on his own. And this is exactly the kind of thing we want, a time trial of Alberto Contador versus Chris Froome, and this is the kind of showdown we hope for. And we only have 4 kilometers left. And we can see that even though Bardet has pulled off Chris Froome's wheel, he is still trying to cling on to the rampant Brit's wheel. With 3.5 kilometers left, Contador's lead has reduced to 27 seconds to Froome. Froome's style seems to be effective as he's better at keeping a higher power average, but as this climb is very undulating, Froome seems to struggle with the steeper gradients. With 3 kilometers to go, Alberto Contador is slugging past the fan, and this section goes up to 16%. You can see Contador's pace up the climb is around 17 kilometers an hour, and it's really steep up this section. The cadence of the riders are fairly similar, with Froome having a slightly higher cadence, but not that much. With 2.1 kilometers left, Contador really struggles up this steep hairpin of 18%. And moments later, we can actually see Froome tackling the exact same hairpin, but in the saddle instead of out of it. The gap is now 30 seconds, which means that Froome's actually lost 3 seconds on this part, and that could be due to the steeper gradients that were part of this section. There are less than 2 kilometers left, and the final part of the climb is fairly steady compared to the savage gradients we've already tackled. Froome actually manages to reduce the advantage in the next 500 meters to 24 seconds. And you can see now Froome has really found his own rhythm compared to Contador, who looks like he's really tiring. And it's also crazy to see snow in Spain up the climb, but this race was held in February. When we come under the Flamme Rouge, we can see Contador has a lead of 26 seconds as he motors it to the finish. And this long hairpin is really good as it makes the gap between Contador and Froome really clear, as we can see Contador at the top, and just in our picture we can see Froome there. 400 meters to go, and Contador is still managing to hold on to a lead of 24 seconds up this snowy mountain. And in the GC, he had a lead of 8 seconds going into the stage today, so he's only adding to his advantage. As the climb flattens out, Contador actually manages to hold out until the finish, and as we can see, he shoots his famous victory pistol. And Froome actually has done a massive effort on the last 400 meters, as he's actually closed the gap to just 18 seconds, and that's the deficit he finishes with. But on the GC, his disadvantage now extends out to 27 seconds. That's it for this video. Make sure if you're new here to subscribe to the channel, and click here if you want to see a video where Ivan Souza tried to drop Tadej Pogačar, or click here if you want to see 7 riders who celebrated too soon and were robbed of victory. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.